morning conference, thank you. Mandy from the London region, moving motion 33. The attacks on housing by this condemned government is, in my view, their way of clearing out working class people from our cities. The tools to do this are through the cuts to housing benefit and the bedroom tax. An example of this is the Holden family. Back in January, they were worried and scared about the looming arrival of the bedroom tax. They live in Hartlepool. Stuart, 36, and his wife Lorna, 33, have 4 kids, Faith, Noah, Elijah, and 4-year-old Sam, who's autistic. In the 5-bedroom home they rent from a local housing association, one room is given over to Sam, so he can use it as a sensory space, somewhere to calm down and readjust, which is therefore an essential part of his everyday life. Unfortunately, as they half expected, this crucial detail has so far been steamrolled by Whitehall diktat, and the Holdens have been judged to be under-occupying by 2 bedrooms. As a result, their £114 a week housing benefit has suddenly been cut by £28. The Holdens are currently behind on their rent, but have come to an arrangement with their housing association, and they have appealed to the local council but have heard nothing back. Stuart has a job in nearby Darlington, and life has become even more difficult, and their £80 a week food budget has taken another hit. Lorna says, I buy a lot of reduced to clear stuff now, and rather than doing one big weekly shop, I'm having to look for bargains. Their street, they say, now seems to be noticeably less populated. Lots of people have moved out since this benefit came into effect, she says. Councils and housing associations forecast huge increases in rent arrears and the financial problems that would create, which is exactly what has come to pass in Leeds. The City Council has announced they'll reclassify rooms in 837 houses and attempt to avoid the worst. But 7,000 households have been hit and 2,800 of them are now behind on their payments. So the Council is already facing total arrears of £138,000. By the end of the financial year, that is going to be about £1 million, which will have profound consequences on the money that can be spent on maintaining properties and repairing them, and over the time building of new council homes. And moreover, the effects of the bedroom tax on some places are almost comically perverse, as the Holden family's experience suggests. In some neighbourhoods, houses and streets are emptying out. The result is not a reduction in under-occupancy, but no occupancy at all. Evidence recently released by the Community Network Locality and the Joseph Rowntree Foundation certainly says as much. It quotes a woman from the Norris Green area of lovely Liverpool, who says the social landlords would lease the houses to individual people on the basis that it was better to have the houses occupied than to have them empty. She says, I walked just from my house to the bus stop and counted 11 houses tinned up because the social landlords can't lease them because of the under-occupancy. Tinning up is a Liverpudlian slang for putting up metal screens on houses that become empty. The woman goes on, it's madness. How can you say you're saving money when you're destroying a community? So the government's benefits policy is in a mess. Its housing policy is a fiasco, and it is making huge problems even worse. And one big question sits under this. In the event that 2015 sees a change of government, will this be at least one of the cuts that Labour might repeal? But the Labour Party history of 13 years in government was not to build any council housing, and a last-ditched attempt to win the last general election decided to state that they would build council housing if elected. I say that was too late. They brought in Almos, they brought in PFI projects. In the NEC's amendment, they mentioned the Housing Voice report. All I can say about that is you didn't need this new campaign group to tell us we need to have council housing built. When I was the Vice Chair of the National Housing Forum, we did ask the full-time officials to explain why a new group was formed, including UNISON, when we already had a brilliant national campaign called Defend Council Housing, which has been fighting to defend council housing for years, and actually got results within Parliament. So I urge this union to continue to support Defend Council Housing, just like Dave Prentice said in his speech the other day. I move.
Demised a few weeks ago, but her legacy still remains. Housing is one of the very, very big backgrounds, and as people have mentioned, both Francis O'Brady and Dave Prentice have mentioned, we need council housing. But the Tories are now, and Cameron is going on the offensive further with the sale of council housings by increasing yet further the right to buy discount for people up to £100,000. So inevitably, certainly in our area and in central London, right to buy requests have gone up. At the same time as that, we've got a massive increase in homelessness created by the attacks on benefits and the bedroom tax. Home building is ongoing, largely in the private sector, and in London you've got a boom in the luxury housing along the river and in places that are being bought up by property developers. And there's yet again a severe lack of homes for social rents. But the lack of decent council homes and housing association homes has always allowed the likes of the Daily Express and Daily Mail to feed the racist myths about foreigners taking our homes, as if the lack of housing would be solved if only immigration was stopped. But making the case for the need for massive increase in supply cuts against these sort of divisions, and we can win that argument. So let's bust a few myths. Affordable rents. Housing Association affordable rents now in Camden for a one-bedroom flat are going at the rate of £250 per week. They've been offered to lower priority applicants on the housing waiting list because they're being rejected by people who are on low incomes, who would be trapped in the poverty trap forever if they took those homes as their home for life. More and more of the housing association properties for rent on offer in Camden now are on so-called affordable rents. But who are they affordable for? My young daughter, who's looking for housing, she wants to move out of home, and I certainly want her to move out of home. We're overcrowded. She's been offered a one-bedroom flat. Now, she's on the lower end of the priority list. She's been on the housing list for 3 years. She was offered a housing association flat that had been rejected by many other people. The offer of the rent was £250 a week. That works out to £1,083 per calendar month. She turned it down, so they came back to her and said, we'll re-offer it to you £190 a week. That would still mean she'd be paying £823 a month. She's a student teacher, and she works part-time at the moment, £100 a week she gets. If she qualifies as a teacher, her starting salary, depending on where she gets a job, will be between £22,000 and £27,000 a year. Out of that, she'll take home about £18,000. So paying a rent of £250 a week or £13,000 a year leaves her £5,000 a year to live on. To pay is about £400 a month. And I don't think for a job like that, it's going to be easy to live on. If you're earning less than that, and many thousands of our members are, there's no way you can afford to live like that. Again, the myths about people living off benefits. Let's think about it. Who exactly benefits from the high rents in the private sector and some housing associations and council properties now? If they've been paid by housing benefit, the only people who profit from that is the landlords in the private sector. Where's the campaign by the Mayor and the Daily Express to attack the racking-like landlords springing up all over the place? I did do a bit of research about what the values of properties, which I think I'm probably going to run out of time, so I'm going to leave that. But actually, the one statistic that sticks in my head is now, in London, a young person in London on a minimum wage, working full-time, cannot afford a room in an average shared flat in any borough of London now. House building going on by housing associations and a few councils, but in order to self-finance, one of the things Camden's been doing is building properties in order to sell off some of them to build some council homes. But one of the estimates of 4-bedroom flats being built in central London, £900,000 to buy it. They're the only people who can afford that are the bankers down the road in the City of London, and I'm not sure they want to live on a council estate in Camden. So Thatcher's legacy is rotten on housing. New Labour and the current Condems are more worried about keeping house prices inflated and thereby refusing to have any major home building programmes to bring the prices down because that might upset their supporters. But we do specifically need council housing. We need council housing built which is under democratic control, sustainable, accountable, and get away from the variable rents in the social sector that give a 2- and 3-tier in the housing market. Finally, I'd just like to give a plug for the bedroom tax that the previous speaker talked about. That's one of the biggest attacks we're facing. So I'm inviting you to a Fringe meeting tonight at 6 o'clock in the Friends Meeting House. Let's get on, let's get some council housing, let's smash the bedroom tax and go on to build a future.